Okay, so yes. See, yesterday I told you that we are having a discussion from past two sessions. This is all about activities in Salesforce. And because I know that this is certainly is a very important feature. And that's the reason, I'm taking that much long for this. Now, we yesterday when I ended, so we talk about like there are two fields called who IT and what IT, and these are the two standard fields inside task, inside events. All right, and both of them are the relationship fields. So what does typically your relationship field would always store? So for that I fired few queries, and I have shown you that uh, any relationship field, it's always contain the record ID of its parent, right? Yesterday we have seen this. Yesterday I have shown you that on the user interface, although it seems like your relationship field, but if you go with like all records, you open this any one of them, you can see that on the user level, sorry, this one user level, it seems that this relationship field would contain the parent's name, but typically in database, this is not having a parent name. It's actually having the parent's record ID. I mean, whatever would be the ID of this usual record inside the hiring manager object, that would be stored inside this. So when we say that who ID and what ID, both of them are, let me try to draw one diagram, or maybe let me see that if I already have something. And would it be possible to explain you with that, because that could save my time a little bit more. Let me go with 201 admins folder, and let me try to see whether I'm having something for who ID and what ID. It seems that I'm having two diagrams. Let me try to open them. Yes, I could try explaining you with this. See, I told you that inside task and inside event, there are two fields called who ID and what ID. All right. You could consider any one of them. For this explanation, you could assume this as stars. You could assume it as the event. It's one and same thing. Right. So these are what yesterday's, I mean, till now, what we had a discussion, because I wanted to close this in today's session. Right. See, I told you that the who ID and what ID. Typically, what are these? These are the two standard fields. What is who ID and what is what ID? Who ID and what ID, these are two standard fields inside task, inside events. All right. What is the data type of these two fields? These are two relationship field, lookup relationship fields. All right. Who ID is also a relationship field. What ID is also a relationship field. Okay. Now, if you go to the, for example, let me show you something. So if you, let's go to the setup menu, and then let's go to that customize, go to activities, and go to maybe like task fields, right? See, if I would see that who, so who is a lookup to what? Contact and lead. Lookup to what? Contact and lead. But it would also make you, it would also take you to the user. So when we talk about like who ID, when we talk, let's only talk about who ID. Let's only talk about who ID. See, like you have seen yesterday, and even day before yesterday also, you have seen that task object and event object, they are having relationship with every standard, almost every standard, and all of the custom object you have created. And why it is having that relationship, I have shown you this on the schema builder, that task object and event object, they are related with the candidates, they are related with the position, they are also related with the hiring managers, and whatever the custom object you created, right, it's related with all of them. And in all of the cases, these objects, task is a child object, event is also a child object. When if I consider, like, for example, candidate would be what? Candidate would be your parent. Position would be what? Position would be your parent. I mean, let's say this is your position object. So your task object is a child object. Position is parent object. All right. Event is what? Event is child object. Position is parent. This we have seen in every cases, right? And now you also know that the relationship field is always present inside child. Yes, of course. Who ID and what ID, these are the two relationship fields inside task and event. And now let's see. This is common for every one of every object. What is this? What is the significance of this field? Understand. If I would say that task or event, whatever, if it is related with position, if it is related with position, yes, of course, you have seen that. If you wanted me, I could bring that once again onto the schema builder, but I feel that this would, I mean, this because these things have already been shown to you. So you, if you want it, you can go back and revise it, all right? Or you can simply open this onto your org. Today, I wanted to summarize this. I just wanted to end up this topic, right? So that is the reason, that is the reason I'm telling you this. So the task and the event, they are child object in every case, in every relationship field. If you say to me that, sir, the position is having a relationship between event and task, I would say that in that case, position is parent, task and events are child. If you say to me that the candidate is having a relationship between task and event, I would say that candidate is parent, task and events are child. If you say to me that hiring manager is having a relationship, we have enabled the activity feature on the hiring manager object. And so now the hiring manager is having a relationship between task and event. I would say that, okay, hiring manager in that case is parent, task and events are child. If you say me that account is having the activities is enabled onto the account, onto contact, onto the leads. For every object, we have seen that task and event, they are child, and the other object is respectively is a parent. So if there is a child object, if it is having a relationship, there must be a relationship field. Yes, there is a relationship. There are only two relationships which is common for everybody, which would store the parent ID for every object, and they are who ID and what ID. It is not going to be like if you relate position with the task, there would be another field inside task for the position. If you relate candidate, there would be another field for the candidate. No, it's not like that. There are only two fields. They would contain the parent ID. Wherever you enable the activity, they would contain the parent ID of that particular object record. There are only two fields inside task and events for the relationship, and that is who ID and what ID. Then what is the difference between these two? See, if you're now listen this very carefully. If your object is lead, contact, and user. If the object is lead, contact, and user, let me try to summarize. See, let's consider this is a lead object. All right, let's consider this is a lead object. This is a lead object, and you are creating a record inside a lead object. By the way, onto the lead, the activity is enabled. When I say activity is enabled, it actually means lead is having, a relationship with task and event. And lead, by the way, is parent, task and events are the child. All right. Now, we are creating a record inside lead. Every record is having an ID. All right. Let's consider the ID is 1211. The record first name is CVV, last name is this one, or whatever. So I just have what I did is like, I have created a record. I have created a record inside lead object. Whenever this record is getting created, now because lead is associated with activity, lead is enabled. The activity is enabled on lead, and lead is having an association with task and event. So this record would be mapped to lead and would be mapped to task and events. So how come what in a simple word, what is going to be happen would be for this record, one entry is going to be created inside task and event. All right, inside task and event. So whenever your object is a lead object, or if it's a contact, it's a user, in bus just for these three objects. Just for these three objects, right? Just for these three objects, the record IDs would be created. Record IDs would be created inside who column. Inside who column. These record IDs, if this is a lead, if this is a contact, if this is a user, Then your record IDs, then the parent record IDs would be transferred inside who ID, because that's a relationship field. Apart from these three, any another object, the ID would be transferred to what? And this I could show you over here as well. See, there's no name of user, but user by default is mapped. So who ID would always store the parent record ID of lead, contact, and user, though it's not mentioned, but you should know. You should know. That's why. It's not mentioned, but you should. I'm telling you, I have worked. So I'm telling you something which even is not mentioned over here. Right? 1 second, guys. Just give me 1 minute. Yes. So if you are creating a record inside lead, inside contact, or inside user, so their respective parent ID would get stored inside who. And apart from, see, except your contact, lead, and user, for all other objects, you can see there's a long list of all those objects, including your if you can see, apart from the standard object, you can see the name of like hiring manager, candidates, positions. These are your custom objects what we have created. And at the time of creation of these custom object, we associated them. We just have enabled the activity feature, and so default case, in default they got associated with task and events. So all another objects, their respective parent ID would stored inside what ID. Who ID typically contains only the parent record ID for the lead, for the contact, and for your user. और थोड़ा सा अगर आप इसको broad mind से सोचें, this word who, like if I ask you a question, who are you? Who is this boy? Who is that girl? So this word who is we can make this assumption just to understand, not to get confused, or maybe like how I have remembered this. Who is used to describe a person, right? Who are you? If I ask you this question, who are you? I'm asking obviously this person to a person, right? I would not go to any animal and say, what is your name? Who are you? He can't reply, or even he though reply me, I don't understand. I'm not Dr. Dolittle, obviously, right? So when we say that who typically represents somebody, like he's a person, and you're asking this question to him. So in the same way, contact is also a person in CRM. Lead is also a person. Lead could, right? It could be a company, but let's assume, because we wanted something so that we could remember. User is what? User is also a person. So when you wanted to remember, you could take this example for your own sake of understanding. You could convince yourself that contact is a person, lead is a person, user is also a person. And so asking them that who are you is all right, it's good. All right. So who ID typically would always contain who. This field inside task and inside event, this field would always contain the IDs, the record IDs, the parent record IDs of contact, and then lead, and then user. And apart from these three objects, all of those other objects on where the activity is enabled, their record IDs are going to be accommodated inside what? Inside what? What ID? This is what basically is who ID and what ID. Let me show you one more thing. See, you have you have understand like how we can create the email templates and how manually I could test it, right? I could test it. If let's say if this is one of my email template and I wanted to test it, although this is onto the candidate object, all right, just let's make this assumption that this is onto the lead object. All right, let's understand this. And I wanted to test it, I'll go with this button, test. Because this is, I'm telling you that this is onto the lead object. You wanted to test it. What you are going to do, you will going to find lead from here, right? You're going to find the lead from here. You'll select one record of lead. All right. So I would go to the list of all else, legal entity, List, location. Did I find lead over here? No. Let's consider this email template is having the merge fields of contact. Let me go with the list of all contacts. I mean, let me go with the list of C. I wanted to test it, so I should select contact. There's a contact request, contract line item. Where is contact? Where is lead? They are not over here. Why? Why they are not over here? Because what you are looking, this is a list of what? And by the way, this is a list of who. So you are looking it into the wrong window, and that's the reason you are not finding. So if you wanted to test any email template which you have created and which is having the merge fields of contact or lead or user, you'll have to search it inside this. This would typically, take you to the who, and this is what. This is what. All others are what. Who is what? Contact, lead, and user. These records are called as the who record. Their record ID would getting stored inside who ID. All right. So contact, lead, and user. They are what? They are called as who IDs. So that was a big, something what we have finished. And you yourself has understand that how much time it would require to understand every minute details of this. But chalo, fortunately, this is completed. Now let me come to the actual topic. How we can create this manually and how we are going to create it automatically. All right, let me now show you. So let's first of all would understand what is in task and events, and let's manually create this. Then we would going to see how we can, by the automation, how we can create it. So I'll take you to the home tab. First of all, I'll take you to the home page. Now, the first section, what you see over here is something called as Chatter, Salesforce Chatter, Collaboration Cloud, the feature of Collaboration Cloud, Salesforce Chatter. So like the first thing, what you see over here, you can hide the feed. And the second section is calendar section. The third section is my task. The fourth is item to approve. You can bring few more sections if you want, right? You can bring few more if you want. Now, see, this calendar section, whenever you create an event, that is going to be listed out into the calendars. That's going to be listed out into the calendar. When you create any task, that is going to be listed out over here into my task. So this, if you wanted to do it manually, I'll show you how. Let me first of all show you how we can create an event, right? So let's go to the calendar and let's click onto this new event button. This interface would open. Give a subject because it must have a subject, right? It must have there are a few of the things. I mean, these are some of the default. You can select by your own. So let's say there is like, project onboarding party. I mean, we recently got one project, so we are organizing in party for maybe that team who brought that project to us. That's an event. Of course, that's an event. Or it could be like a birthday of some of our colleague, one of our colleague, by some of our colleague. Location would be like at office of Wings, right? You wanted to send invitees, you can select certain contacts or leads. You can send the invitees. I mean, if you want it, you can, for example, I wanted Ashley to get, to attend this party. So I'm just sending one, I just adding this contact to this, right? And you can, for example, see what is to identify over here is like event have start date, end date, and the timestamp. So I wanted to organize this like, why it's saying 15 because in US right now it's 15. So we are organizing this weekend. So 17th on Saturday, We would probably gather at 7 p.m. We're going to end up at maybe 10:30. And this is not a recurring event, so I'll not click this. Otherwise, if I click this, it becomes a recurring event. So on every Saturday, 7 to 10:30, this becomes a recurring event. So I don't want that. So in event, whenever you create an event, you have the start date and end date. All right. You can put up a description, the subject. You can describe this. All right. You can describe this. And if you wanted a reminder, let me do one thing. Let me select it 15th only. And let's continue with this because I wanted to show you, I wanted to show you the reminders as well. So I'll do one thing. The reminder would be like, 15 minutes just prior to this event. I wanted to get a reminder 15 minutes prior to this, right? Or maybe because I would require more time. So let me set up the reminder at least at 5 hours or maybe like 1 hour. That would be sufficient because I wanted to prepare myself for this event. So I wanted that Salesforce should send me a reminder. It should display me a reminder in the form of notification. How the reminders would come, you're going to see, don't worry. So I'll set it to 1 hour. So 1 hour prior to the event, I'll get start. I will start getting the notifications and all that. And then if you wanted to attach anything, for example, you design one card, e-card, you wanted whenever this notification should come, this attachment would also come up. So you can do that. Right now we don't have anything. If you wanted to invite somebody else, so then you can definitely go and add invitees, right? You can select all those users from leads or from the contacts. If you want, you could add them. Yeah. For example, I wanted, like, I don't have any users right now, so let me try to find it out whether this would work or not. For that, you must have user. Yeah, we don't have it. So, but definitely you can add them. You can add them. Now, this is the way to create the event manually. And let me now save this. Let me now save this. So as and when it's created, you can see we are back. We are landed on home tab once again. And in the calendar section, you can see this event. Oh, pop-up has been blocked. Allows the pop-up. Otherwise, I would not, I just have allowed. Otherwise, I'm not going to see the notification. And there's a reason I just have allowed the pop-ups. Yeah. See, so whenever you create an event, all of the events, they are going to list it out into the calendar section. All of the events that you create are going to be listed out into the calendar section. All right. Now, let me show you how we can create the task manually. All right. This is what we are going manually. So go to the My Task section and just click onto this new. See, task doesn't have start date and end date. Task doesn't have start date and end date, right? Subject it would have. For example, I wanted to see, this is what does it means by a reminder. Do you see? This is what does it means by a reminder. When I set it to 1 hour before, it started giving me the reminders like this. One notification, one pop-up message would occur. And that's the reason I just have allowed pop-up. I mean, the Chrome was trying to block it, my browser as a default functionality, but I allowed. Yeah, this website is an authenticated website. And if it's try to sending me some pop-up, please allow it. Don't block. If you block it, you will not going to find this notification. So this is the way Salesforce would remind you that there is an event name is project onboarding party, the start time, the end time, the location, and the name. I mean, who has organized this party? So Ashley has organized this party. All right. Right. So this is what basically an notification means. All right. In the same way, for the task also, you will going to get the notification in the board. Now see, let me create a task. See, whenever we create a task, we always assign it to a user. Task actually is a responsibility you're trying to give it to somebody. If you are giving a job to someone, you must select who's that user. Who is that user? I cannot keep it blank. When I'm creating a task, I'm creating a job for someone, I'm giving a responsibility. We should mention who's that user to which you are giving this job, right? So right now, like, we are the only user inside the organization. You're going to learn how to create multiple users. And in the real time, I'm going to show you this, how this actually appears in the real time. All right. So that I'm going to show you after this. Just stop the recording and I'll show you that. So task must always be assigned to a user. Events are not. You can select a contact that this is the person who is organizing the event, and you can select the invitees as well. But that's a different thing. This is not a responsibility part. Event is something like a party. If you feel comfortable, you can join that party. Otherwise, you won't, you won't, don't go, you don't go over there, right? It's up to you. It's an optional entity, but that is not mandatory. Over here, task is mandatory. When you're creating a task, that must be assigned to a user. That must always be assigned to a user. And right now, because we are the only user, it is something like I'm creating something for me itself, right? But actually in real time, it's not look like that. I mean, you create a task and you assign it to somebody. I'll show you how this in the real time this works, and this how does it looks like to be. But you must understand that whenever we are creating a task, it must be assigned to a user. It must always be assigned to a user, right? So give a subject, for example, complete the onboarding process for all newly recruited candidates. So maybe I'm an HR member, and I'm actually this is one of my HR manager, or maybe like I'm the HR manager, and I'm telling this to one of my colleague that you must complete the onboarding formalities for all of those who have recently joined our organization. There are so many onboarding formalities like opening the account and the saving accounts and salary accounts, and then the PF accounts, and maintaining their documents and everything, and making the entries in CRM people, Zoho people. There's so many formalities actually. So I wanted somebody in my team. I mean, I'm instructing this person that you must complete all of the onboarding formalities for all of those. So this is a responsibility I'm giving to him. This is not just a task, it's a responsibility. I'm creating a job for this person. All right, this is what does it means by a task. This task has not been started, or maybe I could take it in progress, or maybe he could convert this into in progress. When he complete, he could mark it as complete. These are some of the status. I'll keep it not started. The priority, I wanted it a high priority task. So I'm selecting the priority as what? As high, because I feel that this is something which should be done on priority. And so the priority, I have selected this as high. Okay. Do you want it to create recurring? No, in this case, I don't want. How many you wanted to get the reminders? Yes, it should start from the 8 a.m. All right. And I'll save this. So you would see that one entry has been created inside my task section. All right, inside my task section. If I take it all open, I could see it like this. So basically, what I wanted you to understand with this, two things. First, how to create a task and events manually, and where are, if you create a task, if you create an event, where they are going to list it out. See, for the task, for the events, for both of them, you would going to get the notifications like this. This is my event project onboarding party, and this is a task which I have given to a user. And who is that? We are the, so because I am that user, I'm receiving this. If I would assign it to you, for example, if I assign it to you, for example, I assign this to Sandeep. So I'm not going to see this. Rather, Sandeep would going to see a notification, this kind of pop-up that would immediately come onto his screen. It would flash out, and Sandeep would see, "Hurry, complete the onboarding process." So it in real time it works like this. In real time it works like this. In real time it works like this, right? So this was like how you can create a task and events manually, and where exactly they are going to list it out. Now let's finally come to assigning a new task. The final action of a workflow is assigning a new task. We cannot create events with the workflow, but we can create a task. We can assign a task. We can create a task and assign it to somebody. We cannot create an events. The event could be created with the process builder and the flows, with the triggers as well, but it cannot be created with the workflow because workflow is very limited, right? So assigning a new task. All right. So let me go with this. You go with all of the theoretical thing, whatever. वैसे भी मैंने बहुत explain कर दिया है, who ID and what ID and everything. Configure a rule, workflow rule on the position object to assign a new task to the current user regarding the particular action. I mean, as soon as the position record is created, uh, notify the hiring manager, all right, with the pop-up alerts. I mean, that position is created. Let me quickly tell you what is the use case. I mean, you create a new position, you assign it to an hiring manager, all right, you assign it to hiring manager like Nilesh. Now Nilesh should receive वो तो email वाला part हम बना चुके हैं इसके पहले कि I mean as and when you assign it to somebody, he would start getting email alerts, immediately as well as periodically, because that we already have created. Now we wanted one thing more. We हो सकता है कि he is not even looking to his email. Sometimes it happens, and that is the reason, when I start my day, I first of all go and check my email, because when I start working, I might be busy, and that's the reason, because I work for US guys, so mostly they send me anything in the night hours. I usually start this in the daytime. It's my day, there's night, their night, my day. So maybe like we have assigned this to Nilesh. Nilesh also have received certain emails, but because maybe he has not seen, so that's why I just don't wanted to take this chance. So what I'm designing that whenever an hiring manager would be selected for a particular position, right, he must also receive some pop-up alert. See, you cannot ignore that pop-up. Although you can come. I mean, if I would say, Nilesh, I have assigned you one position. Why you have not started working on that? He can say me, no, I don't know. Well, there was an email that was being delivered to you. He would say, "Arey yaar, I have not checked my email from last 2 days." Although that's a very unprofessional thing, but yeah, I have to accept. He would say me, I'll have to accept. All right, I understand you haven't seen it. Maybe you are busy. So he would say me that I have not checked my email from past 2 days. How come how come I would know this? But if I would say, no, there was a pop-up alert onto your screen. How you cannot ignore that? So this is like a foolproof thing, that if pop-up alert would come onto your screen, you have to see it. You have to work on it. That is why. That is why. That is why you create the task. It would give reminders in the form of pop-up message. You cannot ignore that. All right. Chalo. So how to do that? Let's see. I mean, let me end up this by today. Let me postpone my next batch to 10 minutes more. Just give me a moment. Let me type a message. All right, let me finish this. I mean, I just don't want it to be in hurry because it's already 8:20. Yes. So let's go to create. Let's go to workflows and approval. Let's go to workflow rule, right? I'm not in hurry. I would complete this. Yeah, some of you have reported that they are not looking into this option. If this problem isn't have been resolved, please let me know. I tried with few settings, but unfortunately, it's not going to work. Actually, if you are not getting this option, maybe you are not onto the same instance where this account is like, I think this is on AP26, if I'm not wrong. So for your instance, Salesforce has removed that. So you would probably would not get it, but still you have to learn, because see, understand one thing. I'll discuss this. I'll discuss. Please let me remind. Please let me remind. I mean, let me finish this. I'll stop the recording. I'll show you some real-time data, real-time things, and then we're going to have a discussion. Why to learn that? All right. So let me now continue in the workflows. I'm designing this on the position object. So I'll select position, And then next. Now give the rule name. So I would be giving a name. Let me go with the use case. Let me try to find out. So maybe something I'm assigning a task to the current user. Maybe something like this. You can try to give some good name. In the description, I would just copy it. Description should always be like, something elaborated. When somebody look into this, he should understand. Here you could, although I always try to say that, see, a naming convention, you always select it in a way that it should reveal, the name should reveal what this process is all about. Just by looking into the name, they should understand. They should understand what this is. I mean, they just don't have to look into the description. Otherwise, you can plan for here. This should be happen on at created only, because as soon as this would create, as soon as one record would be created, even we can assign not created, and every time it is edited, that is also fine. That is also fine, but let me just put it under the created only. Otherwise, it would create certain because we don't have any time dependent action. This pop-up alert, this assigning a new task would be my immediate action. So I could even select create and every time it is edited. In this case, if it is required, you can go with that as well. But let me now, just keep it onto the created only, right? So do you have any conditions to, yeah, I could select for a few conditions that we already have checked, like position status that should not equals to let's say on hold. If it is on hold, there is no meaning to give the notification, right? And similarly, the position status, it should not equals to maybe like recruited. If all of the candidates have been recruited, why still you would going to give the notification, right? Isn't it? It makes sense to every one of us. And it should not equals to maybe like closed. So these are some of the conditions on which you should exclude the firing of the automations, right? So if the status is not equals to hold, recruited, and closed, if this is the condition, if any one of them is satisfied, you shouldn't fire. You shouldn't fire the automation. That should be skipped, right? So that's the reason I selected all those. Save and next. Save and next. Then I'll come to this page. I wanted to design immediate action, so I'll go with immediate. What I want now, sending an email alert? No. Updating certain fields inside same object, cross object? No. Did I have to send any outbound messages? No. What I wanted to assign a new task. So I'm creating a new task. See, immediately it would come to this interface, right? This is the same interface what you have seen. I mean, when you're trying to create it from home, I mean, when you go and you click onto the new, see this interface, and see this interface. Somehow it looks like to be the same, right? It's also asking you assign to, subject, status, priority. Here also the same thing, all right? Here also the same thing, subject, assigned to, priority. A kind of similar interfaces over here as well, right? So I would see now, right now, there's only one task, complete the onboarding process. I would be assigning this to we are having only one user. So I have only just one option, but in real time, we have multiple options. I'll show you that. Here we are having only one option, and that is us. I mean, we are assigning something to us only. Subject would be like, let me go to the use case. Position is created. All right. So I would try to give a message like I would try to give a message like alert, maybe like one new position is allotted to you. Something like this is allotted to you. One new position is being allotted to you, right? All right. Due date. When you wanted this to begin. So see, we are trying to, let me select the, I mean, position milestone date, or maybe like position created date plus 0. That would be fine. I mean, as soon as the position would be created, right? As soon as the position would be created, that plus 0. I mean, on the day itself, obviously, that if I add 16th of December plus 0, it would give me 16, right? So as soon as that position would be created, that plus 0, I mean, from the day itself, I wanted this task to be get created. And so the due date I'm selecting as created date plus 0, right? Status is not started, priority, let me keep it high. In the comments, I could copy the same thing. You can decide something else as well, not a problem. All right, so this is what I just have filled, and let me now save it. Now see, one action inside the immediate has been, you can see one action. What is this action? It's a task. You could add more. How many of them you could add? 40. In a single workflow rule, you could have 40 immediate action and 400 time dependent action. How come 400? Because you first of all would require to create a time trigger. You can maximum create 10 time triggers. In a single time trigger, again, you can add 40 actions. So 40 multiplied by 10 would give you 400. So we can have 40 immediate and 400 time dependent actions in the same workflow rule, right? I don't require that much of complicated logic. We don't have it. So yes, alert, one new position have been allotted and everything seems to be good. Let me done and activate. Done and activate. Now this rule is being activated. And tell me when it is going to be get fired. It would fire when you create a new position, because you have given the logic as created. So I'll create a new position. I wanted this rule to be get fired. Right now, if I go and refresh this, I will not see any entry over here. This is the one which I created manually. Now I wanted to create this by automation. So I'll go to the position. I'll create a position record over here. Let's say the position name is something like HR member for maybe like finance, right? Number of vacancies would be 10. HR email ID would be like SFTC Qasim. And position status is a new position. It is not on hold, not recruited, not closed. It's a new position. Contact number, location name would be like Chennai. Minimum budget, maximum budget, open date, close date. I'll put it like 31st of December. Let me copy and paste this in these two places. Passport is also required. Travel is also required, right? HR manager, I haven't selected. I don't know why. Let me select like Sumit Kumar. Oh, I have to check whether this HR is free or not, because we enable that one-to-one relationship. It would going to give you the error. Now everyone have them of them is occupied. So let me first of all create a new hiring manager first of all. Otherwise, it's going to give me the error, right? All right, so let me take the HR manager as Lena. Contact number would be something like this. And she reports to a senior HR. This is one-to-one relationship we implemented. There's no need to give the value. And let's say this is like Lena at the rate hrmanager.com. And maybe like she belongs to Chennai. And let me now save it. Right. So in the position, let me select the record of Lena, because Lena is that hiring manager who's vacant, right? And we implemented one-to-one relationship. So what would happen if you select any hiring manager who's already occupied? It would going to give it the error, right? Either I disable that feature. So for that, I have to remove the roll-up summary and validation rule. That's a lengthy process. Let's go with this, right? Let me now save it. All right. So now you save that record. It has been saved. Its condition is also matched. What's the condition? The status should not equals to all these, or the three of them. So it's not there. Now what we are expecting that one task is automatically created for this. See, alert, one new position, if allotted, it should be is allotted ideally. Anyways, that's just a typo. So alert, one new position is allotted to you. What do you first see? It has created a task automatically. And second, this pop-up. Oh, this pop-up. See, the pop-up also occurred. Now tell me who can ignore this. Unless you close it, not going to get closed. So when you try to notify somebody with the email, he could have an exception. But when you give him this like this, see, the pop-ups are coming. The pop-ups are coming unless you dismiss all. Unless you select and dismiss all, then and then only it would not occur. So this is the way to acknowledge the user with the pop-up alerts. Either you create a task, you create an event, it would fire and pop up. It would come up as in a form of a pop-up alert, the notifications. Right? So go with this by today. Do I have anything more before stopping the recording? Yeah, create the differences between task and events. Take this as an assignment. I'm not sure whether it has been written. In the assignment, I wanted you to create the difference between task and events, right? Do this. Try to build up 3 to 4 concrete differences between task and events. All right. So next morning, but in the next session, I'm going to start with the second kind of automation that would be a process. But let me first of all stop the recording and let's show you something.